Seasonal fragrances. So most people in the fragrance community know that certain fragrances are best for certain seasons. So usually light and fresh fragrances are best for summer, and then, spicy warm ones are best for the autumn or winter, whatever. So I have a small list. I've decided I'm gonna pick around 3 fragrances per season to really exemplify which types of fragrances would be really good for those seasons. Of course, everyone has their own personal preferences and things like that. These are my personal favorites, but also ones that I think that most people would probably agree with based on the season. So I'm going to start with spring, just starting out. One that I think is a really good choice, and one that actually reminds me of spring, is Fleur de Bell from Dictyque. So this is a unique fragrance because it has light, very springtime notes, like there's some bergamot, iris, rose, these florals, mixed with some little bit heavier notes. There's some leather, sandalwood, a little bit of musk. Carrot is thrown in there, some carrots. The main thing here, I would say, those heavier notes are not too detectable in this fragrance compared to the florals. The florals, really like the iris and the Turkish rose, those are the main things that you're going to be getting from this fragrance. So it really isn't heavy. More than anything, it's a kind of a nice, breezy, fresh linen, floral sort of thing. Again, it reminds me of spring. I can imagine walking through a field of flowers, something nice and fresh and light. Then, also, I think Not a Perfume is a pretty good option for spring because it's light. It's a mild sort of fragrance. It's more of an intimate fragrance, it's not gonna really fill up the room or anything, but it is very nice if you are looking for a modest, subtle fragrance. The main note that it has, and the only note that it has, is ambrox, which is, the thing about it is that it can change how it smells depending on how you wear it, or who's wearing it. It usually has a very, very light, powdery musk sort of thing going on. It can also have some floral notes. It might have some nutty notes like almonds. So, really depending on how it reacts with your body chemistry, it can change. But for the most part, it is very light and powdery with a little touch of sweetness. And I think that's just a really nice fragrance. Even if you're not even leaving the house, just to wear on your own, it's very, very pleasant. Then, my last choice for spring is Bright Crystal from Versace. I think this is a pretty obvious choice. It has notes of ice, pomegranate, peony, magnolia, lotus, lots of florals, some fruit notes. This is it's fresh but sweet. And it's not overwhelmingly fresh, it's not gonna sting your nostrils. It's a nice daytime fragrance, kind of a more casual option, not very expensive. It's like $50 to $60. Good longevity, probably 5 to 6 hours. And it's just nice, it's a nice, modern, feminine option. Very nice for spring, once it's starting to warm up a little bit. Then, moving on to the next season, which is our current season, summer. I always thought that Light Blue from Dolce & Gabbana was a really, really, kind of the perfect option for a feminine fragrance for the summer. Mainly because it reminds me of, the Italian Riviera, during the summer. You got these lemons, you get these fruit notes, and the fresh ocean breeze, It's just a really fresh sort of fragrance. It also has a note of Granny Smith apple, which I really like. It's a really accurate note to the real thing. That makes it super fresh. It really cuts through the heat. And a very inoffensive fragrance. Most people like this. Light Blue is probably one of the most famous modern fragrances right now. Probably one of the most bought as well. Longevity is kind of moderate, but you could always reapply it. It's also not too expensive, probably similar to Bright Crystal. The next one here is another one from Versace. This is Yellow Diamond. So this is another one that really cuts through the heat pretty well. It has some neroli, bergamot, pear, lots of floral notes. There's like orange blossom thrown in there. You're primarily getting a very, very fresh and citrusy fragrance with plenty of florals as well. So the main qualm I have with this is that it's not super long lasting, probably 4 to 5 hours, but if you just want something to refresh yourself, if you've already been out and it's a hot day, you want to cool off, this is a good option. The last one that I have is quite a bit more expensive. It's also technically for men, but in my opinion, it's really unisex. This is Zarahoff 40 knots. So this is the most marine fragrance I've come across so far. It is all ocean notes for the most part, like ocean notes and citrus, like super fresh, like ice cold. You just splashed yourself with water sort of thing. And you get some salt notes in there. Yeah, this is very much like you're at the beach. This is the beach in a bottle. So this is really good as well if you want to get a more luxurious summertime fragrance. And it is unique because it really does embody the sensation, the smell of being around the ocean. Then moving on to the next season, which is autumn. So autumn is my favorite season, but autumn is great because it's the time when you get to start wearing fragrances that are a bit warmer, because obviously as temperatures drop, it's gonna be easier to wear warmer fragrances. So one that is kind of my go-to fragrance is Chanel number 5. So some people put this aside because it's too old or outdated, whatever they say, but the thing about this, in my opinion, it's kind of timeless. It's still the best-selling fragrance in the world, and it's over 100 years old. This is a floral aldehyde fragrance with some very, very warm base notes, specifically civet, musk, amber, oak moss, sandalwood. Really delicious, warm base notes. So it's not your typical floral fragrance, because of those warm notes. It's not very sweet. A lot of feminine fragrances these days are very sweet, but this, there's a little bit of natural sweetness, but definitely not sweetness that modern fragrances are more accustomed to. So this is really good because of the warm base notes for autumn. It's also a very sophisticated option. This has been associated with elegance since it came out in 1921. So then, some equally as luxurious options, I would say. This is Hamburger Sultan from Dior, and then this one is from Fleur de Bell. This is Hamburger Sultan. So these two are kind of similar. So Hamburger Sultan has a really delicious combination of pink pepper and rose. So you're getting this really, really warm, cozy fragrance mixed with some floral notes. This is one of my favorites actually. Like this is the good stuff. Then Hamburger Sultan is a little bit warmer, I would say. It has tons of resins. Every resin you can think of. There's amber, myrrh, benzoin, just tons of stuff. And then there's some like herbal notes thrown in. It's a unisex fragrance, very strong. Definitely once it starts getting cold out, you're gonna want to wear something heavy, and this is a good option for that. Then, for winter, once winter rolls around and it's especially cold, my personal favorite, it's definitely not modern, and a surprising number of people don't really like it, but this is from Estee Lauder. This is Youth Dew. So the reason I like Youth Dew for winter is because it reminds me of winter. It reminds me of Christmas specifically. This is a very, 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 very heavy fragrance. Has tons of spices, has cinnamon, cloves, mixed with roses and, lily of the valley, and balsamic notes, resin notes. Super heavy, lots of stuff going on. But the spices, specifically the cloves and the cinnamon, that really reminds me of Christmas. Some people say it reminds them of Coca-Cola. I don't personally see that, but it is definitely a very unique, spicy, yet floral, yet slightly sweet sort of fragrance. Because it is so strong, it's going to last all day, like 10 hours. This is kind of the god tier of longevity. This is from 1953, so it was extremely popular for a very long time in the 50s and 60s and 70s. Not so much these days, but if you do like heavy fragrances and you especially like spicy fragrances, this is a really good option for winter because it is very warm. Then, more modern option. This is Tobaccolor from Dior. This is, from the name you can assume there's tobacco in it. This is a really nice smoky fragrance. If you enjoy smoky fragrances, this is going to be a good option. Great staying power, good longevity, probably 8 hours. And it's a smooth smokiness, it's not gonna singe your nostrils or anything. Nice and warm, kind of cozy, like you're sitting by the fireplace or something. Then the last one that I have is an especially luxurious one. This is Oud Satin Mood, which is a combination of oud and rose, Turkish rose, which is just an amazing combination of notes, because the oud obviously is a very, very heavy and musky sort of note, mixed with the rose, which is smoother and lighter and sweeter, and this combines into a top shelf sort of fragrance. Once you smell this, this is sophisticated, luxurious, elegant, and quite warm. Probably not quite as warm as Tobaccolor, but still a very prominent warmness from the oud specifically. And this is not only a really good winter option, but also a good option for special formal occasions, because it is a very special sort of fragrance. But those are the main options that I have for the 4 seasons. If you have any questions or opinions about these, you can always leave those down in the comment section down below. If you liked the video, leave a like, maybe subscribe, and I make videos throughout the week, so stick around for those.